Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Caruso. I am the publisher of the Capital Sports Report. Today, I am joined by Johnny Ahten, a top alcohol dragster pilot, who is also his full-time job. His full-time job is as a firefighter near Los Angeles, California. And you can see he's presently at the fire station doing this interview.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for having me, Anthony.
Thanks for joining me, Johnny. This is a very tough time for healthcare workers, police officers, EMTs, and firefighters like yourself due to the global coronavirus pandemic that we have presently going on. Could you talk about what it's like for you presently for the past few weeks since we've been going through this pandemic? Like, what has the fire department have been doing to keeping you guys safe when you do go out there on these calls that you go on?
Yeah, it is a little bit different for sure. We are engaged in it every day. This is what we're doing. We go on the calls. We've if I start back like how we've restructured kind of how we do business.
Yes.
It starts with the call taker. So when someone dials 911, our dispatchers are the call takers. So they'll actually screen that call for more information to find out if they are, what their signs and symptoms are, where they've been, if they have been tested for COVID, if they're positive, if they're negative. All of these factors come into play, and then that's more information to give us before we even pull out of the barn here in the fire station. And then so we'll look at that when we get there. We've restructured how we do business in the fire service. It attracts type A hard charging individuals, and the firefighters, nobody wants to stand around. They all want to work. They all jump in and they engage. And that goes for not just when we're fighting fire, but also when we're on a medical response. And normally we're in there, one person's assessing the patient, talking to them. You have a 12 lead EKG taking place. You have a blood pressure, pulse oximetry, blood glucose levels. All this is taking place at the same time with multiple firefighters, engaged, especially on traffic accidents or, different types of rescues. And what we've done is we've scaled that all back to now what we do is we've kind of changed the way we do business. So we call it one in, all out. So we send one firefighter in, and that one firefighter will go in there with full PPE on, and then he hands a mask to the patient and asks them to put that surgical mask on. And then we try to bring them outside into our environment now, get them out maybe in the front, get them in the ambulance where now maybe we can be back farther than 6 feet. And that one person then starts to take care of that patient. Now, of course, it's a little different when we have a trauma or we have life-threatening things. We have more firefighters in PPE that will engage and go to work. But that's the biggest change for us on scene, is just slowing the rescue down a little bit and taking the precautions. And then, of course, when we're done with that rescue, we have to decon all of our equipment. We take all the PPE off. We doff it, as we say, and it's disposed of through our biohazard containers and whatnot. And it's just a different way we do business a little bit. It's a big change, but it's a good change, and it's what we need to do to do our due diligence, and that keeps us safe. And then the next call we go on, we're not cross-contaminating additional patients. So we have to clean a lot of equipment. We're constantly doing it in the field. And so it is, that's just how we're doing business now. So it's a little different.
Agreed. That's to help keep you guys safe. Your job is a close contact job with the patients that you would see, also with your fellow coworkers. So has anything changed besides when you're out in the field that maybe your fire department and station is doing in-house to help protect you guys?
Yeah, we have. We've, we live together. We live here in the fire station together. So we had to make some changes here. And, we spend a third of our lives living in here. We eat together. This is a family. We eat together. We sleep in this, sleep together here. We spend, a lot of our time together here. And so we had to make some changes here in the fire station. One of the things is we keep this place clean like you cannot believe. We still clean the fire station. I mean, when you become a firefighter, you're cleaning toilets, you're mopping floors, you're sweeping, you're doing all those things. But what we do now is we disinfect our fire station. And we don't just do it once a day. We do it multiple times throughout the day.
Okay.
Where we decon, with you know, our antiseptic wipes, our hospital sprays and stuff. We go around and we door handles, doorknobs, telephones, you know, all handrails on the stairs. So many things. The guys go through about 3 or 4 times a day and completely clean the place again. And I mean, some of these rooms are so clean we could build microchips in them. You know, they're like clean rooms, and that's how it's got to be. And especially with our equipment, you know, inside the cabs of the fire trucks, inside the paramedic squad, all of our equipment is cleaned like it's never been cleaned before. I mean, they were clean, but now we're really going all out on it. And it's just the way we have to do business now. And as the captain, you know, I make sure the guys are doing their due diligence and stay on top of it, which they do. I don't need to really remind them anything. But we don't want to get that natural decay of it fading off or anything else, any complacency, because we don't want to get anything here at work and then take it home to our families or take it on to the next call. You know, we try to leave it all on scene, clean everything, and move on to the next one. So.
Yes. You mentioned as a captain and as a firefighter where you guys live basically there for much of your time there. How has the fire department protected you guys? Because like I said in the last question, you're close to each other all the time. And the CDC says you got to be 6 feet apart at all times from each other.
Yeah, it can be difficult, but the guys do a pretty good job. We try to separate each other out. This is a big fire station, so we have the ability to do that. They've given us a lot of PPE. You know, I brought some of it out to show you guys. You know, really on our calls and stuff, we have gowns and masks and you know, ways to dispose of it. And they've provided us with all kinds of antiseptic wipes and hand cleaners, hand sanitizers. They've given us guidelines on how to separate out when we do our lineups. The way we clean the fire station, how we sit, we kind of spread out a little bit more. So we try to do our best. Sometimes it's challenging and difficult because it's kind of like when you're at home with your family. Well, here we're like a family here, and we've lived together for a lot longer than just this COVID thing. So, but we do the best we can, and the department fully supports us, and they're doing a great job of giving us the tools we need to try to do everything we can.
You have a large fire station there with multiple people, you said. Has the virus impacted any one of your coworkers?
So, yeah, I actually got some data here, and I'm going to read it to you. If you look at a little picture right here, you guys can see that's what we look like, our guy going in with his gown on and his mask and eye protection. And as of Tuesday, I got this last night, that we have about it's 3,000 firefighters. We're just a little under that because we have some vacancies right now. Some recruit classes are about to start, but at about 3,000 of us, they've tested 333 of us. In fact, I got tested the other day also. It was negative. They tested me for antibodies, and also if I had it right now, and I had neither. I tested negative for both of those. The total number of personnel who have tested positive is actually only 28.
Wow.
Out of about 3,000 of us doing this, of going on these rescues, going on these calls, is 28. The total number of personnel awaiting their test results is 2 out of who has been tested. The total number of personnel returned to work out of that 28, 24 are fully recovered or fully back to work that had COVID. Most of them had no signs and symptoms, but they tested positive. And then a total number of personnel that are still recovering. We got 4 guys that are at home resting. You can see the squad here. He's going to go out and rescue here in a second. Total number, it's really the numbers and are really low considering we expected a much higher turnout. You see these guys going on a rescue right now. Those are our paramedics there, firefighter paramedics.
Somebody this way.
So, yeah, they're saying hi. That's in part to, I think, the good procedures that we have in place, the PPE that's in place that's provided to us, and the crews themselves of just really going all out and not dropping their guard. So that's the best way I can describe it. We wonder sometimes like how are we not getting more guys and gals sick? And but those are the numbers so far. We haven't tested everyone obviously, but and if anyone gets sick right now, if You know, we what we do is we screen everybody every morning at lineup. You know, we take our temperatures, we see if anybody's has any signs and symptoms of being ill, and then they go home. And then we monitor them. Now, let me let these guys pull out for a second. It's gonna get loud. So, wait one sec. Let the door close. So what we do is we screen each other every day, and if anyone's sick, they go home, and then they're self-monitored for 14 days if they continue to have the symptoms. If they are symptom-free, they need to go 3 days of not having a temperature, not on Advil or anything else before they are released to come back to work. And all of those measures are working to kind of, I think, keep these numbers kind of low.
You mentioned that you have some vacancies, but you're trying to recruit new people. But with this virus, you may not be able to do that.
Oh no, they're in line like you can't believe to
Wow.
become firefighters. We always get a big turnout of applicants, and they've restructured how they do recruit training right now. Recruit training is they have those guys 6 feet distance, face masks, and a lot of it is online, and then they wait till they get on the field to get more of the training. So they've had to modify and restructure completely how they do recruit training. But you know, we have a we got a job to do out here. We have to have firefighters to fill those spots. We can't stop hiring. We can't stop. We're constantly at 3,000. We have an attrition rate every year of people retiring, and so we constantly are hiring firefighters. We had a recruit class graduate I don't know, a week or two ago, and they're already out in the field working. We have to keep the machine turning, and we just try to do it with common sense and take the precautions we can, and keep moving forward. We got to have people on fire trucks.
Very true, to help save other people who are in trouble, who need assistance, whether it's that they got a fire, car accident, or they have a health problem going on. Everyone needs.
We're problem solvers. We that's what we do is people have a problem, they dial 911, and we go solve that problem. Sometimes it's a cat in a tree, literally, to grandma is having trouble breathing.
Oh wow. Besides being a firefighter, you're also a father. You have children at home. Due to this virus, they're not able to go into schools to go through their regular schedule of classes. Now they're at home doing Zoom meetings like we're doing today, or other forms of meetings to go through their classes to do their homework. How has that been an adjustment for you and your family at home with your children?
Good question. I have 2 boys. They're 7th and 9th grade, and they are handling it remarkably well, all things considered. They log into their Zoom meetings. My 7th grader, his structure is very much, the school he goes to is very much like a normal day. They, at 7:45, just like when they would be at school, they log into their Zoom meeting, and they got the teacher on the screen, and all the kids are on the screen, and she does the instruction, and she calls on the kids, and they have to scan and show their paperwork, hold it up sometimes, or scan it and send it. And so my younger one, for him, the structure is kind of the same, other than he's at home and he likes it because at lunchtime he gets to hang out at home. And my older one is in high school, his first year in high school, and I think he misses his sports, some of his friends. It's a little harder. But both of them remarkably are handling it well. I think they know that we're going into summer vacation now, so maybe there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. My wife, she runs a tight ship at home as far as the school goes, so they're on top of it. I personally am enjoying it. I'm a little selfish because when I come home from the fire station, now the kids are home, and so I can spend more time with them. As opposed to when they're at school, if I'm here for a few days and I come home and they're at school, so the selfish part of me is enjoying it right now, having them home. And, we get out, and the kids, they both run track and cross country. So we'll go out and we'll go for runs, in the evening or the morning, sometimes before school. And I think that helps get them out, gets a lot of that energy out.
Yes.
And it gives them something else to look at, some different walls, so to speak. You can't look at the same 4 walls, and they burn a lot of it up, and that helps kind of throughout their day. So, if it wasn't for that, it'd be tough. We'd be out playing catch or bikes or something.
A lot of,
I think that's really important to get.
sorry for interrupting, but a lot of problems that we're probably going to face from this lockdown throughout the country is there's probably going to be a lot of people with mental health problems going on, or sadly, like suicides, and everything's going to be higher because of these lockdowns, because the government officials want everybody to be in their house unless they're going to work or the grocery store, and they can't really associate with much of other people except for their immediate families.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important for people to get out and go for those walks and, be safe about it, keep your distancing, wear the face mask, if you're supposed to where you're at, if you're around people, and just be smart about it. You have to have some outlets, some and, you know, it- for us, that exercise helps, to get out and burn it up, get those toxins out of your body. So my advice to everyone is, even if you're not a runner, just get out and go for a walk. And out here in California, we're, in the Midwest in wintertime, I know everybody pretty much augers indoors because it's cold and snowy. And out here, the one thing that we do have is weather. That's just the same year round. And so for us to be on quarantine is especially a little more challenging, I think, on the West Coast out here in Southern California, because we're used to sunshine every day, and we still go out and walk or exercise or ride our bikes, go to the beach and stuff, in December and January and February. And so the quarantine, for a lot of people that have apartments here, is really challenging. And that's one of the concerns I have for a lot of the people that are out there. So try to find an outlet, hopefully there'll be some sports on TV at least soon that we can watch, and, to help us, through all this. I know we've, one of the things that we have done is we love streaming. We've watched some great movies and had some fun times in the house, where normally we would be out, we'd be out camping or staying at the beach or something like that, where, we've just had to restructure kind of how we do things at home. And, we're cooking more, we're, spending time inside. And so we just try to make the best of it. I know it won't last forever, but in the meantime, we'll look back at this and say, how did I try to do my best for my family to make it the best we possibly could?
Yes, and that's what some people have to find, an outlet to keep themselves occupied and focus on, whether it's sports at home, or not really video games, because that could be bad for some people. But
Yeah, everything in moderation. Hopefully, yeah, everything in moderation, whether it's, alcohol, or whether it's video games, or whether it's junk food, whatever, or even exercise in moderation too. That's just the secret to life, right?
Yes.
Some balance.
Besides being a firefighter and also a father, you are also a licensed drag racer in the top alcohol dragster ranks. When you guys are, what are you guys doing with this downtime with your operation that normally you would not have? Normally you would be on the road if you are racing right now, but due to this virus, everything was on lockdown. We did have the Lone Star Nationals that took place this past weekend in Texas. So maybe some events will start kicking up here, and maybe you guys can get back to racing soon in the near future.
Yeah, speaking of outlets, that's really my outlet. Drag racing, something that I've done my entire life. I don't know any different. This is the longest I've ever been not at a racetrack in probably my life. And so it's been challenging for sure. And at first, my dad, he's the crew chief. He's my partner on this thing. He's my best friend when it comes, and so we spend a lot of time together, and he's 76 years old. So initially I told him, I said, hey, Dad, I'm not going to be coming over to the shop much, because I don't want to get something at work and then bring it. So we've kind of got a system now where we kind of stay spread apart, and I go over there, I actually I'll clean the place, disinfect it and stuff. And we've had to stay busy. For my dad, that's what keeps him occupied, is the shop is on his property. And so that's his big man cave. He goes out there and spends a lot of time in there. And we've been able to catch up on the positive side of this is we're catching up on a ton of small things that just get overlooked when we're racing. When you're trying to push to make it to the next race, there's always little things that just don't get fixed. It was great. I took I got the Freightliner that we tow with. it got new brakes. You know, replaced a leaky air valve I had on there. You know, I'm going to repack the trailer wheel bearings and just service like that, fixing little things on the race car. And then we have two A fuel cars. The car I drive, we call it the A car, and then there's the B car. And I went stem to stern all over the B car, took it, stripped it all down, went through everything, and fixed all the little gremlins that we had on that car to get it ready to go. I really want to take that one testing, just to sort out anything, get the barrel valve set, you know, clutch linkage, get everything dialed, so it's ready to go. And in my car, the A car, you know, fortunately I was able to run Pomona. I ran the Winter Nationals, and with the full crew there, we serviced it thinking we were going to go to our next race in Las Vegas. So at the track, you know, we did a full service, pulled the rack, bearings, you know, everything's ready to go. All it needs is push rods and fuel, and we can fire that thing up and run it. And so it's ready to go. So we're like, well, let's work on the B car. And so we've been doing a lot of that kind of stuff, just fixing things. You know, I replaced all the fluorescent tube lights in the shop with nice LED lights. You know, I'll do some more work to the trailer. We sent our starter motors to RCD, had those gone through. I went through our battery packs, put fresh Odyssey batteries in it. You know, just a lot of little things that we've been doing, and that helps me stay busy. And, you know, you got to do something to pass the time. And we thought about that Dallas race, that Lone Star Nationals. It looked like it was going to be a lot of fun, but I was really worried about the travel for my dad. And we didn't know really how to engage with that yet, whether we'd fly him in or drive in, or, you know, the hotel situation. So there was a lot of unknowns with his age. So, you know, we just decided let's just hold off a little bit more. As much as it was hard to watch it online, we subscribed. We got the online, you know, the $15 to watch it, and followed it. I downloaded the app from the track so I could see the timesheets and everything. And, you know, I got to give it up to them. They did a great job. It looked like it was a really well-run event. The weather looked pretty good. Megan Meyer was certainly flying, and she was on top of her reaction times. You know, we're watching that, Megan. Don't worry, you know, we're keeping an eye on it. You know, she was the champ. She showed why she is the champion right now, for sure. And
yes,
which makes me want to go race, because I love to, you know, race against the best. So we're antsy to get going. Just waiting to find out what the plan is. Our next race was Woodburn, Oregon, and that's kind of like on hold. And then on the schedule, it shows Sonoma in July for that regional race. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. You know, we're still waiting. It's all up in the air. But we've talked about it with my dad. We're like, hey, if we don't make these races, then, you know, we'll just wait and see what the next one is. And we'll just keep working and servicing things and showing up to work, you know, doing our part.
For those that do not know what it's like, what is it like to go 275 miles an hour on a good pass down the drag strip?
You know, a lot of people ask that question. What's it feel like? What is the experience like? And I heard an interview one time with Don Garlitz a long time ago, a tape of it. And what Don Garlitz said was, he goes, the only way to really describe it is like trying to tell someone what chocolate tastes like. He goes, you just have to taste it. He goes, you can't really tell them what it tastes like. And it's kind of like that in the race car. It's sensory overload. It's very addicting. You know, when you step on that pedal, and an A fuel car is as close as you can get into a top fuel car without being in a top fuel car, because the procedure is the same. You're burning nitro. The chassis are the same. The controls are all the same. And the way you drive it is a little bit the same. Obviously, the fuel cars are much quicker to half track, to 660. They just keep accelerating. But, you know, there's a harmonic in the car. There's a vibration. There's a thunder. There's the forward acceleration. You know, on a good run, when I step on the throttle, you know, it puts you in the seat, and, you know, you're accelerating pretty good, and it has this harmonic and vibration that nitromethane has that it really is indescribable, and yet it's very addicting. And it's hard to not do it when we're not doing it. It makes you want to get back in the car. And our car right now, that A car, is leaving. My dad's got that thing launching hard. to where it's hiking the front end up and carrying it, and it's just so much fun to drive right now. In Vegas in the fall, we had that thing just marching, and it's just fun to drive right now because it's unpredictable a little bit. And as much as I'd like it to go A to B on a nice, smooth, easy run, it doesn't want to. It's angry, it's ornery. It wants to carry the nose. It wants to shake the tire. It wants to drive itself around out of the groove. And I actually like that because it's more fun to drive.
Okay.
As opposed to like a nice, boring, straight down on a rail run, which they do a lot of times also, but not with the tune-up we got right now. And so for me personally, I've driven these things for a long time. I actually enjoy it. It's fun. I want it to be all over the place, and it's like a long, skinny pro mod in a way. Sometimes, it's just unpredictable. So it's pretty. I can't answer your question to answer your question. It's just badass.
Okay.
As you can see from what I do for a living and what I do for my hobbies, I gotta have some type of crazy adrenaline, whether we're running into burning buildings or going down the drag strip. And there's a lot of similarities between the two also. In the fire department here, it's a team, and everybody has their job to do, and we rely on each other. And if someone doesn't do their job right, it can get somebody hurt or killed. And there's a lot of pressure when it comes to that. When people are trapped inside a burning building and we're trying to get them out, there's a lot of pressure, and you just react to it, and afterwards, when it's all said and done and it's calmed down and we picked up all our hose, that's when you sit back and you think about what just happened. It's kind of the same in racing too, is you have a team and everybody has their job to do. And if someone doesn't do their job right, someone can get hurt or injured, and there's highs and lows just like here. So they're very similar. And a lot of times when I've worked a ton, I can't wait to get out of here and go racing. And then when I'm on the road racing a lot and it can be tough and grueling, I can't wait to come back to the fire station, and just it helps me mentally, I think, with my own mental health on balancing everything out. We have got all these bells and alarms going off here and stuff, so we thrive on all of that chaos. It's managing chaos is what makes us successful in this line of work. It's kind of the same at the racetrack. So.
Johnny, can you talk about the Gforces? Because when you hit that pedal, you got Gforces going down the track, and then when you hit the parachute, you got more.
Yeah, so we have a race pack, data recorder on the car, Pro 3, and it records a forward acceleration, and it records, the Pro 3 records all kinds of different ones, forward, lateral, and when you step on the throttle in the A fuel car, it's about 3 3/4 Gs, about 3.75 Gs is what it'll record. And then that's initially at the hit of throttle. So on the graph, it'll go up. And then the G meter kind of goes, it'll tabletop a little bit, and then it starts to come down because we're accelerating now. And, we gain, a lot of mile an hour from the starting line to half track. And then we'll gain 230 miles an hour from the starting line to half track. And in the second half, we may only gain 50 miles an hour. So that G-force, it really plugs you in your seat to hit, and then it starts to kind of taper down as you're going down the track. Well, what you see in the car is when you're sitting still, of course, we have peripheral vision way out here on the sides. But as you go faster, that peripheral vision starts to get blurry, and really it comes in to where now it's very narrow. So it just kind of comes in. And then when you get off the throttle, you're approaching the finish line, you step off the throttle and I throw the parachutes. Well, your head hits the dash. And just getting off the throttle, and then when you throw the parachutes, of course, it stops the car quick. And with the Leahy safety device, it'll throw both chutes at the same time. Or if when I throw both levers now, we throw both levers at the same time. So you get that negative G's. Well, it actually goes off our chart. It goes down about -6, and then it spikes off that, and it doesn't record past that on mine. Maybe I don't have it set up to record it because it's not something we really look at very often. But yeah, you'll see it. And even when it planes out, we're still going through the finish line. We're still about a +2 G's because it is still accelerating, and then it just shoots straight down. And you see that narrowness, it just all of a sudden opens back up again. And, I've heard other drivers describe it as like when you watch in Star Wars and you go into hyperspace and all the stars go into this, tube. And then when you come out, it opens back up. That's an accurate way to describe it because that is what it looks like. And then the more you do it, the more regular it gets.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the more you do it, the the more accustomed and natural it feels. You know, when you first start doing it, you got to get used to it a little bit. If, you know, the car is going faster than your inputs are processing, you're getting these inputs and your brain doesn't process them that fast. So then your brain starts to catch up to the car and process those inputs fast.
You mentioned blinders. On your helmet, do you have like two tapes that some drivers have? You see with Pro Stock.
Yeah, I don't.
Junior when he was.
Yeah, I've seen the guys. They have the it's taped off. It's really narrow.
Yes.
You know, when you nowadays with the dragsters, when you climb into these cockpits, the roll cage, you know, it has a shroud all the way around it. So really, I'm already narrowed down to what I can't see already. So I don't have them on mine. I don't really think I need them because with the shroud, and you're sitting down almost in this little cave. I can't see on the side of me anyway.
Okay.
And you know, they got to come all the way around to give me a signal to go to fuel, go to the high side, or to give me the signal to put in the, you know, the beams that they got the throttle stop and everything else. They got to come all the way around, you know, because if they come over here, I won't see them. They got to come all the way around. So I don't really have those on there.
Okay.
But some guys do. I know the funny car guys do sometimes because they don't have that shroud, maybe the windows or something. But I'll tell you, you have to stay focused if you want to cut a light, and you can't let anything distract you. You have to really focus on that Christmas tree.
You're in California, and there's restrictions. Gavin Newsom said there's no sports until maybe August, October, September, November, December. Who knows?
Yeah.
So that means you cannot go out there and test your alcohol car until who knows when. So how are you guys going to prepare for that? Are you going to go to another state to try to get ready for your next race if you have to?
Yeah, I don't know yet. That's what we really want to go do right now is go testing, just to keep the cobwebs from forming too much. And also that B car, I want to get out there and make some laps in it to get it dialed in. We are kind of waiting on Bakersfield, and you know, there's some talk that might open up soon. There's Vegas, but the problem is we're going to get into summer months here, and when we go to Bakersfield or you go to Vegas in the summer months, it's super hot and the track gets really greasy and stuff. So if that's the only option we have, that's what we'll do. I'm hoping that when we go to that Sonoma will happen, maybe without a crowd, with some, you know, some parameters in place like the other tracks have been doing, maybe some social distancing, masks, whatever we got to do to go racing, I'll do it. So I'm really hoping Sonoma, the regional race, happens. We would certainly test on the day that, you know, whatever day that winds up being, whether it's Wednesday or Thursday or something of that race weekend, is make some laps, you know, definitely, you know, make some hits. Our squad's coming back right now. They're going to drive through here and put themselves back ready for the next run. So they've already handled that rescue and they're coming back now.
Oh, so we'll see them.
I'm surprised there hasn't been another call since we've been talking, really.
Oh, wow.
But you'll see these guys driving over my shoulder here in a second. That's paramedic squad.
Yeah. And you said earlier when we were talking on the phone that there were about 16.
Hang on a second. Let me shut the motor off. Okay, I can probably hear you now.
When we were talking on the phone earlier, you said that they usually go through about 16 calls per shift.
Yeah, and these guys are usually the busier piece of equipment because they'll run into other stations areas to go with the engine companies that are on the other calls.
Okay.
And that's in a you know, we're here for 24 hours. We do 24-hour shifts, so you know, we'll keep going around the clock. You know, it doesn't matter if we're eating dinner. It doesn't matter if we're doing this Zoom interview. I mean, I might have to split. It doesn't matter if we're in the shower, sleeping, whatever. You know, that's why we all have a job, is for these things. Big Red over here to go when people call for help. That's what we do. Everything else around here is to support these things.
Yes. You mentioned that your partner for the race team is from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And his operation his business is hurting, which is hurting you guys. So for the people that don't know, could you talk more about your partner with your race team? Because you said earlier that it's all about tourism in Hawaii, and due to this virus, there cannot be no tourism, which means a loss of income for him.
Yeah, I think, and really across the whole nation, you know, there's so many people that are financially hurting right now, and that's one of the biggest concerns I have. One that I'm worried about is people going back to work and trying to put food on the table and pay the rent and everything else. And in Hawaii, Howard Catano is our race partner, and he normally flies to all the events on the mainland, and then he returns back to Paradise, back in Hawaii. And so they have that 14-day quarantine right now. So if you fly to Hawaii, you are on lockdown in your hotel for 14 days. And his construction business, of course, everything is on hold in Hawaii right now because, their economy is so heavily based on tourism, and there is no tourism right now. It's all on hold. So all those people are out of work. So there's no revenue coming in. Everything's just paused. And, I'm not just worried about, I'm worried about a lot of our sponsors on not so much that the funding won't be there for me. I'm worried about because they're friends and family, and, I want them to be, sustainable. I want them to, to thrive. And so that's one of the things in the economy I worry about with Howard in Hawaii. Some of his construction is on a different island. So he'll fly to another island and do a job and then fly back. And now if he flies to one of the other islands, it's a 14-day quarantine on that island before he can start the job, do a 2 or 3 day job, and then fly back to Oahu and 14-day quarantine when he gets back. So we're talking 28 days of quarantine to do a small job. It's not feasible right now. So I haven't spoken to him in a few days, so I don't know if anything's changed. They were talking about keeping that in place until September. But they're going to have to do something. I know Vegas is starting to open up, but you got to do it smart. We don't want people, there are people that are susceptible to this illness because we see it every day when we go out on these calls. We engage in that. And yes, most of us can get it and recover. But those few people that it does affect, those are the ones we really got to watch out for and be careful around and just be smart. Just, by doing some things that we can put in place to try to help that. And I think he'll be okay. But with everything on hold, he's not flying to the mainland, for races and stuff. And if he does fly, we'll probably keep him here for a little while because it's got to be worth his while to go back and be quarantined in his house for 14 days.
Yeah.
So
like, if he does come here, he could come here come where you live in California for like a month in case you go racing for like a month. Because
we're waiting to see. Yeah, we're talking about, everything is so unknown. We've talked about what we want to do for racing, to go racing, to figure out which races are going to happen. But at the same time, we need these things got to have funding, and the funding is very essential. And we have a lot of companies that believe in me, that support me, that have become friends, and I love them all. And right now, I'm worried about them. So, if we don't have the funding coming in, it'd be tough for me to go to a lot of the races right now too. That was another thing about driving to Dallas is, diesel's pretty cheap. And I looked at that going, okay, I know diesel is pretty cheap, but I don't have a lot of the revenue coming in to help us get to those races, to burn the nitro, to eat up clutch discs, to pay for the hotel room, to, all these things that are really expensive to get these things to the track and then to fire them up and then run. So those are all, they're tough decisions, and we've got to kind of maneuver that wisely because, there's not a lot of money out there right now. And I don't want to, I don't even want to ask a lot of my sponsors for money right now because I know that they basically need to hold on to keep their doors open, the ones that are still working. I love them all to death. If they want to support us and send us racing, then by all means, let's go racing. But you got to be cautious about and just do things smart right now.
Have you heard from your sponsors to see how they're doing? Have you checked out with them?
Yeah, I've touched base with a few of them. In fact, I was talking with John Rogers, who writes a lot of my press, about putting, we want to fire off a press release, just really to a lot of the sponsors to let them know that we're okay and, that we're focusing here. And I want to make sure they're okay. And, just to touch base, you have to have a communication with your sponsors a lot just to really, you have to have upfront communication with them. Keep them in the loop on what you're doing. This is advice to all race teams, or aspiring racers. To run at this level, it requires that type of funding. My lottery numbers haven't hit yet. So in order to do this, we've got to work hard on not just the car, but we've got to work hard on the marketing side of it also and get return on investment for these sponsors. And fortunately, I have a lot that believe in me, that believe in a firefighter that likes to go drag racing, that has the qualities, characteristics we have. And then, every so often I get to, knock out those big teams and put them in a trailer and bring some Wallies home, which is our goal. I'm lucky that I have a lot of those sponsors, but they're not, you got to keep them. It's hard to get them, and then it's hard to keep them. And especially right now, everybody's going to be hunting for that sponsor dollar, from Don Schumacher to John Force to all the way down to Johnny Otten's A fuel car. Everybody's out there trying to get that funding. And I think that the funding is going to be downsized across the industry. A lot of the industry, they need us to be racing to buy things, whether it's clutch discs or whether it's bearings or whether it's oil or whether it's whatever it's going to be, cylinder heads, valves, all these things. These industries have thrived on racing, and if we're not doing any racing, they're not selling these parts.
Agreed.
I phoned up and talked with Rob Bonifani and Bob Malloy and ordered up 20 discs because I'm going to need discs. So we have a little bit of money left over from funding from internationals, and I know that they're hurt because they're not running any race right now, so nobody's buying clutch discs. And we got to keep these companies open. Their doors have to stay open, because without them, we can't race. And that's how they make a living and put food on the table. So we got to work together on this deal. And hopefully, as things get going again, everything will kind of like even out again, hopefully.
Agreed. And some drivers I've seen, I don't know if you've seen, they have done like little videos talking about their sponsors and saying, go buy this part or go buy this.
Well, we're always doing that. Yeah, we're always doing that kind of stuff to get people to support those that support racing. And you have to do that all the time. And right now, even more so, and it's tough because we don't have a lot of racing to go display their brand and promote it. So you've got to do it other ways. And, here's an opportunity, for people to get to know me. And now maybe they'll follow some of my racing endeavors and then follow some of my sponsors. And that's kind of how this whole system works, whether it's on a top fuel car or whether it's on a super stock Camaro, or whatever it is. This is how, sponsoring 101.
Well, we're going to help with that by putting this all over the place.
Right on.
You mentioned that you considered going to Dallas, Enos, Texas, the Texas Motorplex this past weekend. Megan Meyer won. You said you like racing against her. There were some cars that were in the area from Texas. Then you had Brandon Greco from over by Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who made the trip. Some people in the area stayed local for that race. Some outsiders went. Do you think that was a problem where this virus and the funding caused some teams who were thinking about going, like Chris Dempke told me that he was considering going. I know Tom Fox here in New Jersey said that he was considering going, but they didn't go. Do you think that was a huge part of it? Money was the factor in that?
Well, Chris Dempke's car did go. Brandon Greco actually drove Dempke's car. But, I think there's probably multiple reasons. One is money. Yeah, if you don't have the funding, you ain't going. You ain't going racing when you got to pay the rent instead. At least that's what you should be doing. And I'm sure that some people probably are a little concerned. Like I was a little concerned, obviously, for the financial side of it. That was a big concern. But then I was also a little just concerned about taking my dad, traveling across the country. And if I'm exposing him to anything, can we do it safe? I didn't want to hurry up and rush anything as much as we want to go racing. That was one of the factors. I was like, you know what, let's just, I didn't know if there was going to be, if he flew in, if there was a quarantine and with his age, my goal, and I told him last year, was like for the longer hauls, normally him and I, my dad and myself will drive the toter home and we'll go drive, for days. We'll head up to Seattle, Mission, Canada, up and down the West Coast. And I said, you know what, I'm going to fly you into the races in 2020. And he likes to drive the truck to the closer races, Vegas or, Pomona's an hour drive for us. So those closer ones he can drive, but the really far ones where I'm spending the night in truck stops and stuff, driving through the night, I'm like, that just, it's a lot of wear and tear on him. So I want to fly him in. Well, now I'm looking at, now I got to put him on this tube and fly him to Texas. So we just decided, let's just hold off and wait and see. And it was hard to do. I felt like I was kind of sitting on my hands. It was very exciting. I got to commend the Motorplex there for putting on that event. And I'll tell you, next year we'll probably go to that. If it happens again, we'll probably go. I've always wanted to go lock horns with all of those Texas and Midwest A fuel cars. Some of them come out west and run with us at Pomona and Vegas. And, I wanted to go back and run with them and lock horns with them. And so I'm hoping to do it. It's bucket list item for sure.
Okay. The NHRA's Northwest Division announced that they're going to have a Lucas Oil Divisional in Seattle in June 13th and 14th, and it's still on at this time. And it'd be a Saturday and Sunday event. Have you considered attending that divisional?
No, not that event, because that event is actually, there's no alcohol class at that event.
Oh, okay.
What they have is they have us running. It's the second weekend of August.
Okay.
And it's alcohol only, I think. And it's the weekend after the national event. And so we're kind of like, we're deciding on what we want to do. We're waiting to see if the races will happen, because there'll be the national event the first weekend of August, which we could run at, which we usually do. And then normally we have a weekend off, and then the next weekend we run a regional race at Sonoma. So we'll race a national, and then at the end we load it in the trailer, and they let us park all the alcohol teams, stack them over in a lot there on the facility, and then we'll fly home. And then we, 2 weeks later we fly back up, pull it out of that lot, come over, and then set the pit up again. And so it works out pretty convenient. We can leave it up there. I don't have to drag it all the way home. It takes about 2 days travel, 2 full days of driving to get up and down from Seattle to Southern California. So we can leave it up there and fly. And we're debating on right now, because now that it's back-to-back weekends, I mean, what do we do? Do we get a hotel room for the whole time? Do we come home for like 3 days? Do we fly back up?
That'd be very expensive for the hotels.
And that's what I'm worried about, is the cost. And
Yeah.
since we're working on the revenue part of it and the funding, which we need, then so we're kind of like on the fence on going. And if we don't go to Seattle, it'll kill me, because I love that place. We won there last year. We won that event last year in 2019. I've been to the final there 3 times. I've been #1 qualifier there a bunch of times. Our car loves running Seattle. I love the staff there. I love the facility. It's beautiful. It's cut in pine trees in the forest. I love the Pacific Northwest. And so I don't know. I was talking to my wife about it the other day, like maybe what we could do is in between is go sightseeing with the kids and go look at Seattle and go to the piers and go watch them throw the fish, all that fun stuff. So we're kind of talking about what to do, but we haven't decided yet. And it really will come down to if we have funding coming in to help us make that event.
And you could visit, if you stay out there, you could visit the Space Needle.
Oh yeah, we've done that before, and my kids haven't. So we'll see. Sometimes you can stay at the track; they have showers and stuff there. But I've heard that up in Washington right now that's considered camping, and you can't camp there overnight and all this other stuff. So we're waiting to find out exactly what are the rules going to be, what are the parameters going to be, and until they do that, it's tough for us to say. I can tell you, I've got an e-fuel car that wants to go run, and I got plenty of I'm not plowing through any parts, so my war chest is just getting bigger. I'm just grinding more floaters and stacking floaters ready to go. We've got the parts to go racing. The last piece of the puzzle is really just the funding to close that gap, and then just making sure it's safe for my dad.
Okay. The NHRA is steadfast on racing with fans in attendance. As a firefighter who has seen this virus up close and personal, do you think that is even possible, or do you think we'll have to go like NASCAR and go for new fans for a while until we can get fans?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Not being a super expert on this, but just from what I've seen, I do think that it's possible if people respect each other's space. You can limit how we're seated, limit the interaction with people, and I think we can do it. I think that if people are smart and don't disrespect their social distancing in that space. Honestly, personally, I love social distancing. I like my personal space. My wife and kids, we go to Disneyland a lot, and we love it on a day when I can put my arms out and there's nobody around. So that, if we do it right, it is achievable. It's really up to what the government, the governors say on allowing that to happen. I think that if they space people out every other bleacher row, spaced out in groups, limit the number of people that comes in here or into the track, put the marks on the ground. If we can go to Walmart or if we can go to Home Depot and shop, then I'm sure we can go to an event which is going to help people get out of their house. It's going to stimulate the economy. It's going to give them that mental health outlet to go see some race and to do some activities. But it's got to be done. It's got to be done right, and people got to respect that so that we can keep doing it and not get people sick. And but I think looking at the numbers, I think it is achievable, and we just have to do it the right way. And people got to be on board. You got to get buy-in from the public to say, okay, I get it. I may not agree with it, but this is how it's going to be, and it's better than nothing.
Yeah, like 50% capacity or
something. Yeah. I'm sure that we got some smart people that we can get together and figure out a plan. I can't, even if we were just watching on TV, it's better than nothing. Because we need our nitro fix, and like NASCAR running with no crowds. The TV ratings are good. People are watching it. It's something for us to talk about in the sports reporting world. I got things I can look at. I got highlights.
Yes.
We got to get something going. Out here, we miss our Dodgers baseball right now. I want to watch some Dodger games.
And now there's the dispute over that, and players taking a pay cut. And will that mean that there'll be no season, or will there be a season? Who knows?
I hope it doesn't turn into a mess. Because, if they're watching baseball, MLB, we miss our Dodgers right now. We need to see some Dodgers baseball.
Yeah, let's hope that there's some baseball. Maybe
even if it's just on TV, I'll watch it. I can only watch the old games so many times. And break my heart.
That's what I say. I'm like, I can't watch something that's already happened because I know the result.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. Also, I don't know if you saw the report yesterday by Susan Wade, a colleague of mine who, as I also write for Competition Plus, she's a writer on Competition Plus, and we've known each other for years. So she reported yesterday that it's either going to start at Seattle or there's going to be a few races in July in Indy. And with or without fans, who knows at this point. There's supposed to be an announcement come from the NHRA on Tuesday, June 2nd, which is this coming Tuesday. So we'll have to see what they say about everything that's going on.
Yeah, I know they want to get it going. And that's a track that NHRA owns. So a lot of teams are right there. So I think they're just trying to figure out what they can do to get it going. I know that the purse money is in question on what it's going to be. And there's not a lot of travel involved for those teams from Brownsburg to just come over to the track and race. We're all here. Let's go over to the track and race.
Maybe blocks because they're all right there.
Yeah, so it makes sense to do something like that. I kind of hope it does, whether there's a crowd or not. Maybe do it with no crowd just to get the racing part of it sorted out, like in the pits and the interaction and the starting line and the staging lanes and the safety safari, and get all of that worked out maybe at Brownsburg for a couple races. Let the guys knock the cobwebs off their fuel cars. And then when we pick up in August, maybe with a crowd, if Washington allows it, then they'll have a head start. That's kind of the way I look at it. But they gotta stimulate to get something going here, and I think it will eventually.
Yes, hopefully, because we don't know. With no drag racing since February, it's driving people bonkers because you want to be out there and going down the track, and you can't right now.
Right.
Finally, there are so many races going to be bunched together when this new schedule kicks off again due to this virus. There's a rumor of a schedule that's going to go from Seattle almost every week from August through November, except for maybe like 2 or 3 off weekends and that whole span. So as a driver and a team, what is your plans for the rest of this season with the national event schedule and the divisional event schedule? Because the divisionals, they just changed that as well, where you can go out of your division to race as well.
I don't know. We're waiting to see what happens with Seattle. We're waiting to see what happens with Woodburn for us, for the regionals. which puts us kind of in a weird limbo for a long time. I'm hoping the Seattle regional or Sonoma regional happens, and then we'll wait and see on funding for to go up north into Seattle and stuff and Woodburn. For Vegas, I'm waiting to see what we do with Vegas because I got a couple races in Vegas. They have the spring regional is postponed. I'm hoping they push that and do like a double header in the fall. Maybe I can go national event and then 2 regionals and then maybe Pomona, if Pomona happens or not by November. And that would be, you know, so I can still punch in maybe 4 or 5 races in the second half of the season and still be local and not have to travel a lot. But so we're kind of waiting to see. I would love to go to Indy, drag my stuff over there and race. But it just comes down to the funding, and there's so many unknowns. It keeps changing. And this is a moving target, and it just keeps going down the road. Okay, this is the next race. All right, well, we're ready to go for that race, and then it gets pushed to this date, and then it gets postponed, and so on. So I think even the fuel teams are waiting to know what goes on. You know, what's gonna happen. I know for those guys to hit that many weekends in a row, it'll be challenging and it's tough. I think that some of the teams are definitely up for the challenge. Others are going to have a tough time with the parts carnage, with replenishing, you know, that quick turnaround of replenishing, you know, all the parts, you know, cylinder heads, engine blocks, piston racks. And it's easy to say like, well, they've had all this time right now to prepare, but they haven't had any money coming in. When they don't race, they don't get paid. There's no, the sponsors pay for, I want my car at this event, and, you know, for this event, I'm going to pay you. Well, if we didn't do that event, then they don't get that money. So they're not just spending money for free, you know, buying parts and everything else. So it'll be a survival of the fittest. And I don't think you'll see all the teams at all the races. They're going to have to stop and regroup and retool to get to some events. Then you got the travel, the trucks going, you know, back and forth across the country, you know, and tires and diesel and all that fun stuff, wear and tear. But what are we going to do? We got to come out with a schedule and try to get as much racing as we can. And I like the 2-day format, you know, qualify on Saturday, run on Sunday or whatever, to keep the events quick and shorter, you know, 1 less qualifying run for those guys, and then get them loaded up and on the road to go to the next place that much quicker, or back to Brownsburg to load more parts in and then get going again. So I don't know. We'll see. This is it's all new. I mean, everybody's making this up as they go. You know, there's no script for this at all right now. It's adapt and overcome.
Exactly. You said this is probably going to help John Force Racing or Don Schumacher Racing or Coletta Motorsports the most. So we might see like Terry McMillan, Clay Milliken, Jim Dunn Racing, who you're very familiar with. You're friends with Jim Dunn. Your father is friends with Jim Dunn. So those small singular teams are going to probably be hurt by this the most.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but I mean, we don't know until we go. You know, we got to.
Exactly.
You know, and I know that, you know, if we can at least do that, then there's a television package. There's people watching it. You know, you sell some commercials, and Fox will have something to show because they're not showing anything else. There's no other sports really.
Right now.
Yeah, just NASCAR is it. And I know we got Supercross coming this weekend. I can't wait for some Supercross. You know, so we got to get something going.
Exactly. You touched on Pomona, but there's some rumblings that might not even happen this year.
It's really up to, you know, the Gavin Newsom, you know, our governor out here in California, on whether he's going to allow spectator sporting events. And I have my fingers crossed that we will be able to do it. I mean, this is Pomona. It's hollow ground when it comes to NHRA drag racing and the World Finals. You know, I don't want to miss it. You know, I don't want to miss that race. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, thanks for your time today, Johnny. And
anytime.
Please be safe out there in California with your job as a firefighter, and so that you are able to race when we are able to get going again, to get racing again.
Yeah, we'll do our best, and I can't wait. Thank you for your time.
Thanks again for your time, Johnny.
Okay.